Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Morning Coffee with Elio, and we are live from the UK with my good friend Henry Edward. How you doing, Henry?
Hi, Elio. Yeah, I'm really well. How are you?
I am very excited to have you here. I am super
Good.
excited and
Well, thanks for having me.
grateful. No, thanks to you for making the time to be here with us and sharing your story.
No, it's a
Um,
pleasure.
Yes, I wanted to share with everybody here that you are not only a Royal Navy officer, but you are an amazing singer, and we're gonna be talking about that right now. Harry and I, we met when we were touring around the United States. I was driving the
Mm.
bus, and he was part of one of the best a cappella groups that you can actually see live, you can enjoy live. And the name of that group is Semitone. But before we started talking about Semitone and everything that they've been doing and Henry used to do with them, let me ask you, Henry, when did you find that singing was one of your passions?
Oh, I mean, as kids, as a kid, I was always exposed to music. Loved listening to music, loved singing, and I used to do a bit of acting as a little baby boy as well. Used to absolutely love acting, and that kind of led me into music and performing. And then when I was quite young in primary school, I'm not sure what the grades equivalent is in the States, but in primary school in the UK, age like 6, 7, I used to sing in the choir. And then as I moved into upper years, I kept singing in my secondary school in church choirs, and then on to a cappella at university. But I don't want to spoil that. I'll come on to that later, I'm sure.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So, well, actually, I wanted to ask you, and you already knew that singing was part of something that you wanted to do in life, but I mean, in your transition to college, to university. So, how you became part of Semitone? How that happened?
Yeah, so I didn't really expect to join a cappella. Like I said, I was in church choirs before, and was going to continue that through university. But I'd been doing church choirs for quite a few years, so I thought, oh well, maybe going to college is a really good way to try something new and do something else in singing. So I left the chapel choir and the church music behind, and I looked at what else there was. And I remember during Freshers Week there was a group of guys on campus singing unaccompanied, and I thought, yeah, wow, that's pretty cool. And just a month before that, the group had released its first music video as well, Rich Man, which got hundreds of thousands of views on YouTube, and it went viral. So it came through on my Twitter, and I thought that's cool, and realised it was the same people. So I wasn't sure if I was going to get in, but it's always worth applying. I think it's always worth a try. So I put my name down to audition, and never looked back, and that was it. They somehow let me into the group, and that was my 3 years gone like that. That was it.
Wow, that's exciting. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Well, in 3 years, you guys won like multiple awards, right? And
Yeah,
one of
yeah.
them was the best a cappella group of UK. Is that right?
Yeah, so we in my second year in the group, we entered a TV competition with we've got a choir master over in the UK called Gareth Malone, who goes around the UK conducting choirs and coaching choirs. He did a massive thing in the UK about military wives choirs, which is obviously something quite close to my heart as well now. But Gareth hosted a competition back in 2017 called Gareth Malone, the choir, Gareth's Best in Britain. And he went around the country looking for choirs and travelled to the southwest, the northeast, all over the UK. And we were chosen at Semitone as the Southwest's choir, an a cappella group. And so we went forward to represent the Southwest in the regional finals, which we won. And then we somehow got into the final, and it was the last three groups left.
Wow.
And then somehow we finished performing in London in the final, and we won. It was amazing, and on national TV as well, so BBC Two, which was big.
That's awesome. How that affected your personal life in that moment? How exciting was the projects that happened because of that?
It was incredible. For me, I was just 20 at the time, and it was such an eye-opening experience. To go on TV, to meet celebrities, to work with people who have such an incredible understanding of music. Choristers and choral directors like Mark DeLissa and Gareth Malone, who over in the UK are massive, massive names. That was incredible. And then yeah, like I say, just to be exposed to not the fame, that sounds ridiculous, but the public interest. You know, our Facebook likes and Twitter followers went through the roof. We were invited onto the Southwest BBC News, doing radio appearances, YouTube videos. It was like nothing I could have imagined when I started university. It was crazy.
That is that sounds exciting. That sounds exciting. And then you guys came and start touring in the United States. You
Hmm.
came like three times, but talk to me about how exciting it was coming to the United States for the first time. You know, being like an a cappella group and traveling all over the states. Talk to me a little bit about this.
Yeah, so my first time in the States was in the summer of 20, sorry, Easter of 2016, which was the year before the tour that we did together. And it was my first time I'd ever been to America, and I was quite apprehensive at the time, never been there, you know, massive, massive place, but really, really enjoyed it. And, you know, to get to travel all the way around the United States, I've been to something like 22 states of the USA, which, you know, for some guy from a small town in England is crazy. That first tour I did all the way up and down the East Coast, which was amazing, and just fascinating, really, really interesting. Got to meet some amazing people on all the tours that we do. We also, whenever we do a show, we try to get a local a cappella group from either a local university or you know, a local community choir to come and open the show for us. So you get to meet loads of awesome groups and awesome choirs, then meet some amazing people, and a bit of sightseeing along the way as well. So I was pretty lucky to have the opportunity to do it not just once but three times.
Wow, that is fantastic. That is fantastic. So now I am going to ask you, we're going to kind of like switch directions. We're going to change directions. And I want to ask you, you are also like a Royal Navy officer, and actually that's what you are doing right now.
Hmm.
And I wanted to ask you, why join the Navy? Why?
Well, it was always something that I wanted to do. So my grandpa was in the Navy as well, a long time ago, admittedly, but he was in the Royal Navy. So he always encouraged me and inspired me by telling me stories that I used to find fascinating. I thought, yeah, that sounds pretty cool. So interestingly, you know, whilst I was at university, at the same time as being a semitone, I applied for what's called a university bursary. So the Royal Navy will sponsor people through a course of study at college, and then at the end they will train you as a naval officer. So I had the job kind of from the start of my university studies, and then only officially joined in September 2018. And that was it. So I spent my whole time in Samito, my whole time at university, knowing that I was going to go into the job. Just something that I've been looking forward to for a very long time, and I haven't looked back. I love it. I get to travel. I get to do something that's, you know, good for the world, be a positive force. I do something that challenges me. I go to some amazing places. Yeah, I love it.
That is fantastic. So basically, you joined the Navy, and you already were in college. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, college, university. Yeah, what you would call college. Yeah, but university for me. Yeah,
Yeah, university. Yeah, here we call it college.
yeah,
Yes,
different word. I don't know.
exactly. Yeah, guys, I forgot we are live from yeah, United Kingdom. It's different. Here we call it college. But so that's very interesting. You know how every single system was similar but different, and you were university expecting to go to the Navy, and then you went to the Navy. So now, if I ask you, with all this situation around the world, and I am actually talking about the COVID-19, the pandemic situation, how
Mm.
is this affecting your life? I would say your military career, because I mean, to be able to train, to be able to travel with different officers, and especially I remember I went to the army in Cuba for a year, and I know it's nothing compared to the high training that probably you guys need to have. But at the same time, you are in constant, I will say, connection, doing stuff with other, officers, soldiers. So, how hard is it to keep social distancing, in training and all of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's strange because in some ways my job and the people that I work with have been affected a lot. but in other ways we haven't at all. So, and I'll come on to that in a moment. But the Navy and the Army and all the armed forces in the UK and around the world, in fact, have actually been very busy helping respond to the government's need for help. So, over in the UK, we've been helping build hospitals. We've been helping do roadside testing. We've been helping the police. There's helping, do military planning. So we've been helping a lot with tackling coronavirus and COVID-19, which has been really important. But at the same time, all the jobs that we normally do are still going on. So I've just, the last ship that I was on, which I left last week, was HMS Trent. And we were still working normally as we would at any other point in the year, because all those things that we do as a Navy, as an Army, to protect the UK, to protect the world, are still going on. We still have to escort ships through UK waters. We still have to keep sea lanes open, and all these other important things that the Navy does still have to happen. So on board, we do try to social distance, but yes, it is hard. We can't always keep two meters away from each other because the corridor is like that wide or something. But it is difficult. But actually, our day-to-day job hasn't really changed that much. Unlike everyone else, my mum and my dad and all my other friends and family have been having to sit at home, not working, socially distancing themselves from everyone else. Whereas for me, I've been at sea doing my job as I normally would have done. So in that sense, I find myself very lucky that I still get to work. But it has been strange, definitely been strange.
Yeah. Well, before I ask you my next question, I wanted to thank you for being at the front line, saving lives and making an impact in this world, because I am sure that you are risking your own life in somehow. So it is, as you just mentioned, very, very difficult. So what is the biggest challenge that for you as a Royal Navy officer?
The being away from home is challenging, and it's not something that everyone is able to do. Most jobs are lucky that they get to come home every night to their family and go and see their friends at the weekend whenever they want to. They can go for a walk whenever they want to, or watch TV whenever they want to. That's not the case for people in the armed forces, and that's not just me. That's everybody I work with as well. So, next week I'll be sailing down to the Gulf, and I'll be out there until November. So I'm this weekend I'm saying goodbye to my friends and family, and I won't see them pretty much until Christmas time. So that is hard. But the flip side is I get to work with some incredible people and do some incredible things. So there are ways of coping. But yeah, the distance is hard sometimes. I think that's probably the one thing that most people struggle with more than other things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really incredible. So if I ask you, I'm gonna jump into mindset really quick. It is a topic that I
Go for
really
it.
like.
Yeah.
It is a topic that I really like. So when you guys are training, when you guys are in your day by day as a Navy officer, what is the type of mindset? What is the type of mindset that you need to develop to be able to carry on every single day with this responsibility? Because I bet it's a big responsibility to be a Navy officer. What is the mindset that you need to develop?
Um, that's a really good question, actually. I think one of the important things is having a sense of humor, because sometimes the job you're doing or being away from home or whatever, you can feel a bit down, you can feel a bit lonely, a bit sad or whatever. And, being able to have a joke with the person next to you and remember that it's all okay, that's really important. And because you might find yourself in some difficult situations, and humor is not always appropriate, but most of the time, a little bit of humor will help. But then it's also just, keeping going as well. So always being determined and having an end goal, and teamwork's another really important thing as well. Being able to rely on each other, because one person isn't always going to have the answer, but the person next to you might. So we work as a team, and that's something that I learned in semi-toned, and I've learned all the way through through my life, is work as a team, because everyone's got different strengths.
Yes, and actually talking about sense of humor, going back to semitone, you guys had oh my goodness.
Careful what you say here.
You guys had I had a blast watching you guys, and you guys were amazing with the sense mixing the humor with music, with movement, with theater. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
acting. You know, I am not gonna ask you to sing, I promise, but.
Oh, good. Yeah, probably for the best. Yeah.
But oh my goodness, I mean, if you are watching right now, I'm telling you, you go and find Semitone on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook. They are all over the place, and you're gonna. I promise you that you will have nothing but a blast. They are the best.
That's very
they
kind, Elio. Yeah.
the
One of the things
actual.
we pride ourselves on was our, our ability to weave all those. It's not just music. It's not just the choir singing. The dancing and the lights and the sound and the theatre of it all. Yeah. It's a real show, and that's kind of Semitone's trademark because we're not just an a cappella group. We're a whole package. Yeah,
Yes,
and the
yes,
humour was a massive part of that, as I'm sure
yeah.
you remember.
Oh my goodness. Oh my, that was hilarious. But let me ask you now that we're going back to semitone, are you planning anytime soon to kind of like do something with music again? Probably at the Navy? What are the
Yes.
plans?
Yeah, so I do still have a connection with Semitoned. I still do a little bit of kind of like freelance producing for them, so helping them out here and there. We've got a couple of projects in the pipeline, but away from Semitoned, it's just nice to sing anyway. On some ships, there might be a group of people that want to sing together, so we'll find a song to sing, or set up a little choir, and then just singing in my free time as well. Singing is a really important thing for me, and just in terms of um, escapism and just the beauty of music, but then also the benefits that has to your mental health, and music as food for the brain and helping you with your mental capacity. Music and singing has so many important things that it contributes to your life. So I'm not gonna give it up anytime soon. But it's nice to keep in touch with Semitoned and keep my finger in a little bit because we've got some things in the pipeline which I won't spoil, but there's things coming up which should be quite exciting. And it's
That
nice
is
to still
all.
be involved.
That is fantastic. So if I ask you in the next, what is the biggest goal for Henry? As a singer, as a Navy officer, what is your biggest goal in your life?
Oh well, I've got some short-term goals at the moment, which is I'm technically still a young officer under training in the Navy at the moment, so I'm looking to pass on my final exams to fully qualify at the end of this year. So that's one of my short-term goals, is get all those boxes ticked off. Um, Personally, I'm looking to buy a house in the next year or so, which is obviously a massive thing. So that's a little personal goal of mine. And for semitoned and as a singer, in the next year or so, hopefully 2 years, we're going to have a big event that I'm managing. But again, I won't say any more. But that's one of my long term plans at the moment. It's something that's already been discussed, already being played out in meetings and in notes. So we've got plans.
That's great. That's great. And you just mentioned short-term goals and long-term goals. That's something really important that human beings we need to have. Short-term and long-term goals because
Absolutely, yeah.
that's just the more you keep planting those seeds. The more results you may have in your future. So that's awesome. I'm glad that you mentioned that. We because we talk about that sometimes as well. So
Yeah.
so now, Henry, let me ask you. I am gonna ask you like a question, like a personal question, no as a Navy officer or as a singer, but uh, how do you see your life, United Kingdom, right now with all this situation that is going around the world? I mean, this year has been crazy. This year has
Yeah,
been
yeah, yeah,
really,
absolutely.
really strange. We have since March we had the pandemic, COVID-19. Now we have protests all over the world because of an event that took place in Minneapolis in the United States.
Mm.
Is these events uh, also impacting the United Kingdom?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, has hit us really, really hard. I think we just passed 40,000 deaths in the UK. I think I'm not quite sure of the exact numbers, but it's about that, which is just absolutely tragic. And and that has hit us really hard in the UK, as hard as it has in many other countries. Hopefully, we're coming down now that Europe, the rest of mainland Europe, is starting to come out of lockdown. So hopefully, we're making steps in the right direction. But it's been a really difficult couple of months, as it has all around the world. And now, obviously, the events over the last week or so, with the murder of George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter protests, they're also now happening in the UK, and in my personal opinion, rightly so as well. I think it's really important that these voices are heard. And that's not just a US problem. I think one of the biggest issues we have in the UK at the moment is people saying, "Oh, it's just an American problem," and it's not. So we're now also trying to come to terms with and understand our own systemic racial injustices in the UK, which is a difficult conversation for a lot of people to have. But we need to have it, and hopefully we're making a step in the right direction. And as you say, 2020 has been a really hard year. There's been a lot that's happened. A tragic year for many people. But I hope that it won't just be a year that's been written off completely. I hope it will be one of those years where we look back and go, you know what, 2020 was a really difficult year, but my God, did we learn a lot from it because of the pandemic. That's brought us, although it's physically separated us, it's brought us all much closer together in terms of community. I mean, look, here we are speaking across the Atlantic. So just in terms of and changing the way we work, and then with the protests as well, they're going on with the Black Lives Matter movement. Again, it's something that drastically needs addressing as a matter of urgency. So hopefully we can really keep momentum going on what has already been an important few weeks for this movement. So it's been a tough year, both in the UK and the US and elsewhere, but it's been a necessary evil. And it sounds horrible to say that, but we need to find the positives in this year and keep that momentum pushing forward. But yes, everything that's going on in the US has affected the UK as well.
Wow. Now, I would like to expand a little more when you say that I will say like these protests, these voices that they are trying to be heard, and actually they have been heard by everybody globally. So, why do you think also these problems exist in the UK?
Well, so it's first of all, I want to say that as a white male, I'm part of this kind of structural problem, and the most important thing I'm doing at the moment is listening and learning, because the institution that I'm a part of has caused many racial injustices, and I'm not fully aware of them. It's really bad that in British schools we don't learn really about colonialism, about slavery, about all these atrocities that the United Kingdom used to commit. So it is important for me to read and learn and listen and be educated so that I can have an informed discussion. But from what I've read and learned at the moment, the UK has just as much of a problem, and it's because our society, the Western society that we are part of, was built on slave labor, on colonialism, on empire, and the fundamentals of those behaviors were white people manipulating and ruling over people of ethnic minority, and specifically black people, in the context of the Black Lives Matter protests. So we need to learn about them, and we need to address them. And the UK is just as guilty as the US. I mean, the UK came and took over we invaded and colonized the United States to start with. So we are, the slave trade was run out of Liverpool, out of Bristol, out of London, out of all these other, Glasgow, all these key UK cities. The slave trade was, supported and was run out of these UK institutions. So it is deep rooted in our society, and the conversations that we're having are difficult because although our overt racism is perhaps, the racism that we have in our country, there is some very obvious racism from people, and that's intolerable. But there are a lot of people who don't think that there is racism in this country, but it's because they don't see it, because they are white and part of this white supremacist structure. So we need to try and break that down a little bit.
Yeah, I am glad that you also mentioned an element that I would like to expand a little bit. You just said that in school they don't teach you about the colonialism, you know.
Not really, no.
And that's interesting because actually the United Kingdom is being a huge part of that historically.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
how, I mean, you said that Cuba wasn't part of of colonialism. I was, oh, okay, because we actually were victims of colonialism. So if you don't mention, that's fine. But United Kingdom was huge about that. So why do you think anything that you can tell me? Why do you think they don't teach you that at school?
So, there's a phrase, I can't remember who originally said it, so please forgive me, but there's a phrase that, history is written by the victors. Um, so Britain chooses to teach in its history classes. It teaches about the Tudors. It teaches about World War One. It teaches about um, the Stuarts. It teaches about the Battle of Hastings and William the Conqueror. It doesn't teach about all these horrible things that Britain did to countries and colonies around the world during its empire days. And that's really bad because
Yeah.
people aren't informed. So I recently, yesterday, I signed a letter to my old school saying, demanding that they change their curriculum or change their reading lists to include um, reading lists created by ethnic minorities and people of color. They include history about colonialism and ethnic minorities, and make a change. Because I am now having to educate myself, age 23. I fully stand up to say I was not fully aware of some of the things that have happened and some of the statistics and how our society was institutionally had the odds stacked against black people and people of ethnic minority. And I didn't realize that until I started reading about it over the last couple of weeks. So I'm still learning, but I should have been learning that age 12. So
I,
this is important now.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And actually, Henry, this is something that I guess not every single government, but I want to speak on behalf of my government, which is, to me, is the worst government because it's the one that I know has been so bad. And in that aspect, not teaching people what they supposed to teach. I am talking about my government, the Cuban government, because they know that knowledge is power, right? Knowledge is
Yeah,
power. Once you know something,
absolutely.
you can use it and you can grow with it, and you know who to ask the right questions. But there is no questions to ask if you don't know what to ask, and why. So I think there is a lot of different things behind this, but I am very happy that people and human beings like you are asking these questions, that at the end of the day it is as simple as just why you don't teach us the right the right history, why you don't share everything with the world, because at the end of the day you can raise history. There is no way that you can just delete that for good. It is right there, and it's going to be right there forever. But that's wonderful, and what you're doing, and again, it is something that you're doing as a human being, something that you're doing from your heart because you feel that it's right. And as Martin Luther King used to say, there is always the right moment to do the right thing, and that's what you're doing, the right
Yeah,
thing.
absolutely. And I can only apologise that I've not started doing it sooner because I was not aware. And like I say, as a white man, I've never felt that I couldn't do something or felt scared of something because of the color of my skin. And I now acknowledge that those things, that people who are not white experience those on a day-to-day basis. So we now need to change those racial injustices. And it's not just me. All my, a load of my friends are taking action through this. I've had friends that have been at protests in London and in Birmingham and Leamington Spa. I've had people who are recommending reading to me. I have people who are writing letters to their MPs in their schools. Everyone, well, most people are now doing their bit, and that's really important. But hopefully, like I say, in 2020, we can continue this momentum so it doesn't just stop when hashtag Black Lives Matter stops trending. It needs to keep going now. And I hope that everyone around the world will be able to do that.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much, Henry. Before we go, what would you say to anybody that is aspiring to be a Royal Navy officer?
Oh, a good question. Um, uh, train for it, prepare for it, be fit, be you know, mental maths is important for my line of work as a warfare officer, but depends on what you want to do. And then, gosh, I don't know, research, do your research, and then just go for it.
That
Just
is
go for it.
awesome.
You know, apply, and then if you don't like it, it's not the end of the world. But it is an incredible job. And I think that's just my message in life in generally. You know, when I was auditioning for Semitoned, I just had a go. When I interviewed to join the Navy as an officer, I thought, well, I'll just give it a go, see what happens. So you know, all these things, just have a go, just try it, because you'll never know what you're capable of.
Yes,
That's my
that's
parting message to you all. That's my parting
yeah.
wisdom.
I love it, and I think you people need to be not only fit, not only physically. You need to be fit, probably emotionally. Your mindset it needs to be fit in the right mindset. I'm gonna share something with you that I really loved. I had like a green beret, a special force friend of mine from the United States. This guy, I'm telling you, he's such an amazing badass.
Yeah,
I
I
will put it
bet.
that
Yeah.
way. And if he's watching the show, Joseph Gallahan, retired officers. So it is completely legal to talk about Joseph at this point. He used to hunt terrorists and all of that around the world, and
Oh,
actually
amazing.
he said it live on the show. I asked him one day. I want to share this with you, and I asked him what when you're facing like death, right? You are in the field. What is going through your mind? That was my question to him. What is going through your mind when you probably? I mean, I will be thinking about my family, my loved one. Who knows? And he said, when you wake up, you have one mission, and the mission is not to fail, and you need to, and it's not to fail to the one to your right and to the one to your left. And
Hmm.
he said that to me, and I will never forget that, because in my, when I say real life, I mean my life, because I'm not part of the military force, but in my life, not failing to the one to my right, to the one to my left. It is your family. It is your friends, are the people that you are committed to be there, and
Mm.
to be with there, and I will say even humanity, just this world, being a good human being, for example, doing the things that you're doing in a positive way. So you're trying to make an impact, not only as an officer, but yourself with your actions, with the steps that you're taking, and to improve yourself every day. And that's another way that you can fail that way, because you
Yeah.
are getting ready for the next step. Henry, I don't wanna keep you away
No,
from
no,
your family
it's
and
fine.
your staff. I've been having a lot of fun with you, and
No,
you
it's
are
been a
always.
pleasure. You tied that up very at the end there. You tied that up very nicely about the one to your left, the one to your right. That kind of brought all those things together. About semi-toned and being a group and a family, and military service, and having a mission, and then also just doing the right thing as a human. You summed the whole thing up very nicely there earlier. And,
Thanks,
and
thank you.
it's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, likewise. I mean, my best wish for you is that you stay healthy, stay safe. Even though you are, I mean, and the reason I mentioned that is because you are at the front line, and I thank you for that. I thank you for serving your country, I mean, serving. I will say that every single military force, every single army, in somehow is serving the world, right? Because right
Mm.
now, what you're doing, life like you are saving this virus to keep spreading around the world, to keep taking lives from this planet. So it is very important that people understand how how important you guys are, and how important it is to be grateful with the front line. You guys, the fire department, the police, all people, and the law enforcement that is keeping, the discipline, especially in these super hard times for everybody, economy wise, universities, everybody. It's been quite a change this year,
It's been a bit
but
difficult, hasn't it? Yeah.
yes, but Henry, thank you so much.
A pleasure. Thank you for bringing a little bit of joy to my lockdown weekend.
Oh my! Oh yeah. No, you as well. You as well. Hopefully next time we can have like a mini semitone group to
Yeah,
perform.
get the other guys on as well. Yeah,
Exactly, exactly. Well,
and
thank
I'm,
you so
and I'm
much. Uh huh.
and I must say as well, Happy New Year as well. I know it's out of season, but remember, Happy New Year. from what we said on tour.
Exactly
New
right.
Year.
Remember,
I
hey,
know
you
everyone
know,
else watching will have no clue what I've just said, but Happy New Year.
happy Happy New Year to you, my brother. Thank you so much, and you just made my day with that.
Good, good.
All right, you have a great rest of your year actually,
Yeah.
and say hello to the family and keep moving forward with your dreams, with your goals. You're gonna make it happen because you're such a great human being, Henry. Thank you very much, brother.
Thank you, Elliot. It's been a pleasure. Stay safe.
And stay safe. Well, guys, we're gonna see you next time. This is Morning Coffee with Elio. Stay tuned, stay blessed, and live full. Guys, thank you very much for watching Morning Coffee with Elio. Yes, we're really looking forward to seeing you Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Do not forget to like us and follow us on Facebook and become part of the Morning Coffee with Elio community. Stay tuned, stay inspired, and live full.